sit quietly, inspired by the resultant view. Meditating like the sky. And remembering the blue sky outside can be a pointer to connecting with the inner sky. So first you adjust your posture. And then shifting gear from the doing, from the break, from the talking, to being, which is also a shift from the head, emphasizing projections and judgments, the inner dialogue, to emphasizing presence. So there's a sense of dropping into the body, down into your legs and your feet and your hands. And the belly. Befriending your own energy. Of course, thoughts continue to arise, but you emphasize them less. There's nothing you need to figure out right now, nothing you need to think about. So they can do their thing. And instead you emphasize the sense of aliveness in your body. The sense of aliveness in your hands, in your belly, and your breath. And then you open all senses, the heart like the sky, and whatever arises, you love that. You're present with that effortlessly. And then even if you're tired or agitated, we can tune in and appreciate the peace or the stillness, the field of presence which arises when we sit quietly together, protected by the presence of the Buddha. Get hooked, when you emphasize a story, a judgment, that is not a problem. But the invitation here is to unhook and to drop back and to rest here in this moment where you have everything you need, where you can slide into a place of contentment, boundaryless and centerless interconnectedness. Tuning in, being aware, relaxing into the stillness, listening with your hands and your belly and your heart to the stillness, to the open presence. And whatever arises, you leave it as it is. And returning and resting, and opening. Or bathing in the stillness from the toes to the top of your head, like sitting in the sun. Effortless beingness. So I would like to say a few words more about the last shift from the small self to the big self, the shift of awakening, shift into freedom. And from the resultant view, that shift is available to us in any moment, and the practice is shifting short moments again and again. So in the progressive view, it's like awakening is something which is going to happen in the future, and you work towards it, and then it will happen, and then you are there. In the resultant view, it's already happening, it's just not being recognized. So the practice is recognizing it again and again and again, short moments, short Buddha moments, and then familiarizing yourself with that. And there's two aspects to that. And the first is to look through, to recognize this process of selfing. It's a made-up word, selfing, so it does not exist. But the process of selfing, so creating through labeling, through projection, a sense of separateness. And then from that sense of separateness, the sense of me, the solid self, the separate solid self, from that then cultivating the fears and the struggle and the poor me and what about me and defensive reactivity. So this process of selfing, by looking at it, by recognizing it, by realizing once you start to look for that separate self, you can't find it. It is a fantasy. It's made up. It's like the pink elephant in this room. So how do you realize there is no pink elephant in this room? You look. How do you realize there is no separate solid self? You look. What is it? What do you find when you look is feelings and thoughts and sensations and sounds and a sense of self and memories and the names and roles. You find many things. Many, many, many things. But you don't find the one. You don't find the one. And this is, of course, amazing because it's at the core of each moment, at the core of each experience, there is a sense, this is happening to me. This is happening to me. This moment is happening to me. And somehow I'm stuck, kind of, most of the time somehow here, like somehow behind my eyes. There's a little me. The mini me is kind of there. Of course, sometimes it's here, particularly when you say something, like where I feel offended, and it's more here. And it's like, how do you dare this to say to me, to me? So I use the image of the wave. Another image I like is of the cloud. So So we have, a cloud. And since we are educated, we have a sense how the cloud is actually part of an open system. And we see the connection. And when we explore that open system, we actually easily understand we can't really say where it starts and where it ends. It goes on and on. Like this cloud is connected with the weather system. It's connected with the Earth. It's connected with the planets. It's connected with the universe. It's going back to the Big Bang. So we can see that, how the cloud does not exist as a separate solid thing. So now we imagine somehow this cloud which emerges out of this open system, it emerges. And somehow, suddenly, this cloud develops the capacity of selfing. So it's like, and suddenly, me. And then the cloud looks from the me. That's the perspective. Yeah. And then, like with the waves, the cloud starts to compare. Oh, she's much more cloudy. She's much more whiter. I think I should go to the cloudy workshops to become more cloudy. And I hope there is enough space for me. And then, what happens then? Suddenly a piece breaks off. And the cloud is, oh! Yeah, but that's not me. I'm here. So the piece goes off. Yeah. But then it just, kind of retrieves the me from there and keeps it here. So, no, this is me. A bit like if you would chop up this leg, and would it put there, then I would suddenly say, no, this is not me. I'm here. This is just my leg. But I remain here. So but then the next thing breaks off. And then the cloud gets really scared. Me! And it's completely made up. It's a fantasy. The cloud says, through a mental process, says me, and then it gets stuck there. And then, of course, it gets scared. In the same way we get scared when the 5 aggregate starts to fall apart at the end of this life. So that's one part. But the other part, which is also important, is to not only see how you don't exist. That's one thing, to see how you don't exist. What you also need to see is how you exist. So a recognition of the true you, the true self. And this process of recognizing the non-existent of the separate self, that can be very scary if you don't have some trust and some glimpse and some taste of the true self. And that's why we are so afraid when we die, because there is a sense of when that dissolves what we believe we are, and it's being forced upon us, we have no choice. In the process of dissolution, at the death process, everything you think you are will be taken away. So if everything you think you are is being taken away, what is left? A materialist would say nothing, because you are the matter. That's what exists, and that's what is real. So, and this kind of pointing to and familiarizing with the true you, the true self, this is what is being shared and being pointed to in the Dzogchen and Mahamudra tradition of Tibetan Buddhism. And tomorrow I want to go a bit into that. But this afternoon I want to read a little story to you about this. This is from a book called Open Heart, Open Mind by Tsukni Rinpoche. So there is one great master who particular radical and particular strongly pointed to the true you, the true self, the big self. And that was Tulku Urgyen Rinpoche, who passed away 96, I think. And he has 4 sons. And these 4 sons, they embody this radical teachings of the fruitional view, of the resultant view. So that's Tsogni Rinpoche is one of them, the other is Mingyo Rinpoche, and then there's Shöki Nyima Rinpoche and Chöling Rinpoche. So quite a family. And they have quite some connection to Denmark, because one of the first centers of the oldest son of Tulku Urgyen Rinpoche, Shöki Nyima Rinpoche, is in Denmark, Gonda. So also his brothers, they come there and teach, and they also then teach in Copenhagen. And I want to read to you from this book when Tulku Urgyen Rinpoche pointed to his son, Tsogni Rinpoche, the first time to the sky, to the big self, what is also called actually pointing out instruction. And I think Tsogni Rinpoche must have been 6 or 7 years old in this scene, which I'm going to read to you, which is called First Glimpse. Yeah? So that's the first glimpse. In one of the books, the other brother, Mingo Rinpoche, he describes almost the same. It's also in the same room where his father pointed this out. It's a small monastery in Kathmandu, on the outskirts of Kathmandu, in the hills, not far from Kopan Monastery, the monastery where I spent some time. It's called Nagi Gompa. So this is Tsogni Rinpoche. I was able to spend only a few weeks with my father at his monastery in Nagi Gompa. Near at the end of my stay, he gave me a lesson in experiencing space. I will never forget that first lesson. I was sitting in my father's private room, a small wood-paneled space with a bed, an altar, and enough room for maybe 5 or 6 people to sit. Half of the room was taken up by windows, through which the setting sun shone in golden red light. He said, "Look at the area around you. with all your senses open, seeing all the objects, feeling all the sensations. Don't block anything. Can you sense that openness? That simple awareness of things you see, hear, and feel. I nodded. With the sun setting through windows overlooking a broad valley, the physical warmth of my father's body, his sweet but penetrating gaze, the feeling of the hard wood floor beneath me. It would have been hard not to be aware of the multitude of phenomena. And his gentle advice to experience this awareness openly, without judgment, was a powerful influence. There was something almost magical about the way he could communicate without words or gestures, the possibility of appreciating without judgment all the things I saw, heard, and felt. Then he said, now slowly turn that same awareness to the mind that perceives these things openly. Instead of looking at outer space, look at inner space. So now comes the mudra. The mudras are these hand gestures. He demonstrated with his hands, turning his palms outward to demonstrate the way we ordinarily perceive by looking outward. And then turning his palms inward to indicate the mind that perceives. Then he let his hands drop into his lap to demonstrate just letting the whole effort of looking drop, to allow whatever happened to happen. So, again, this is the only practice you need. This is it. So, this is the way we usually look. Yeah. We look at the object of our experience, the content of our experience. So now we turn around, like slightly, kind of almost like a bit like turning your eyes around and looking into the back. So you turn around and you look into the inner space, into that which perceives. You look into that. And then you drop all effort. So the content, looking into the content of your experience, then turning around. Like almost as if turning around your eyeballs into the bag and looking into that which is looking. Looking into that which is listening. Looking into that which is looking. And looking into that which is looking. and then dropping. There is a powerful pointer from Franciscus, the Saint Franciscus von Assisi, saying, what you are looking for is what is looking. What you are looking for, so what is it what we are looking for? Awakening, enlightenment, contentment, home. So what you're looking for is that which is looking. It's already here, but we're searching there. We're searching in the content of our experience. What you're looking for is what is looking. So that is exactly what Tulku Urgyen Rinpoche is expressing with this. Yeah? So what you're looking for is what is looking. And then you drop all effort. So because it's not that you are searching for something. Oh, I need to look. I need to find this. What is looking? No, let's find what is looking. So that's why it's so important. There is that kind of turning around into the inner space, which is, of course, not separate from the outer space, because this is also all in your mind. This is all mind. You're not perceiving anything else than consciousness. So you're actually always looking into that which is looking. But we need to kind of play this game of pretending that we need to kind of take some of the fascination with the content of our experience and bring it into the space in which the experience is. So we are looking into what is looking. This is it. This is the highest education you can get. If it didn't make sense, that's fine. We have all the time we need. And the true you will prevail, because that's what really exists. The rest is just coming and going, and so we can't rush this. You know, we can't rush this. And that is the practice. So this is the only practice then. To turn around and to tune in to listening to listen to that which is listening. So you listen, and what you're listening to is not just empty silence, like nothingness. It's the It's the fullness. It's the big heart. It's the heart like the sky. That is what is listening all the time. In that moment, due largely to the certainty and understanding he had cultivated over years of practice, I caught a glimpse of inner space, which is wide open and clear, completely beyond concepts or judgments. This is completely beyond concepts. This is a very important aspect of this looking, because what we are trying to look at probably is the conceptual mind. We are trying to understand what I'm talking about. Like, what does it mean? What does this mean? I don't get it. Yeah, of course, you never will get it. It's beyond concepts. So this is really this can drive you crazy, because we believe that only what we understand, something we can put into clear words, into a PowerPoint presentation, that exists. It can be put in a PowerPoint presentation, so it's real. It exists. But that which we are looking into in here is not. This is not an object of knowledge. Nobody ever understood this. It's not. It's not an. It's you can't know this. Not in that way. It's a different kind of knowing. It's an unmistaken. It's absolutely precise, and it's not like vague, blah blah. No, it's absolutely precise, and it's the same. It's the same as any mystic, any Tibetan yogi, any Rinpoche, Tibetan blah is recognizing. It's not. It's precise. It's recognizable. It's the same. And it will be the same. But it can't be understood. So completely beyond concepts or judgment. So it's open and clear. We will look at some of the description tomorrow a bit more, so we get more a sense of what you need to get a sense of is with what you look and into what you look. So with what are you looking? Because you can't look with the conceptual mind. That's hopeless. So it's like you look with your heart, could be a way to say it. You look with your heart. You look with your whole body. And then the question is, into what? What is that? What's the direction? Where do I look into? Yeah? So we will talk a bit more about this. Of course, all the words will just leave the mouth and then will fall down and will rot there, and because there's nothing to understand, there's nothing to get here. So a lot of words about nothing. But what a nothing. So now he says something else about that space. In which or through which the entire realm of phenomena appear and disappear. In which or through which the entire realm of phenomena appear and disappear. And phenomena here is sensations, thoughts, sounds, the whole thing. So it's a bit like when we take this room. So there are these objects in the room, and they move around, and there's the space here, so they move around. And we are, of course, interested in the objects. You are interested in the words and in what you see and in your feelings and in your thoughts. So it's very easy to miss the space in which all this happens. So now, in this, we become interested in the space. Why? Because recognizing this is your home. Recognizing this space, which is not the empty space of this room, it's just similar to that, is the end of seeking, the only end of seeking. for a brief second or so, I had a direct experience of what in the Buddhist tradition is known as the essence of mind, or the nature of mind. And there's many other words: Buddha nature, ultimate bodhicitta, emptiness, pure awareness, unconditioned awareness, non-dual awareness. Many other words. And it's symbolized in the different, we don't have tankas here, but in the different tankas, in the different symbols of Tibetan Buddhism, that space is symbolized through different ways. And in the Buddhist tradition, it's connected with the feminine. It's also called the Great Mother, Prajna Paramita, the perfection of wisdom. So if the Prajna Paramita, the perfection of wisdom, is symbolized, she is symbolized as this golden goddess, the Great Mother. And she is called the Great Mother because she gives birth to all phenomena. And then everything dissolves back into it. So, the essence of mind, or the nature of mind. And mind here is not, mind, chitta, the Sanskrit word chitta, can be also translated as heart. And in the Chinese tradition, they actually use a word. They don't use mind, they say heart. They use the Chinese word for heart, for chitta. So it's mind-heart. So the nature of heart. The true nature of heart. A luminous, limitless awareness that is not chopped up into subject and object, self and other, perceiver and perceived. For an instant I experienced a complete lack of separation between everything I felt, saw, smelled, and so on, and the awareness that saw, smelled, felt. Yeah. There's much more words about this, and books written, volumes of books, and about something you can't make words about. So that's why one way, it's in the Buddhist tradition. They say this. It's called transmission, and they say this transmission was given the first time one afternoon, 2,500 years ago, in India. The Buddha was sitting with some of his students, and he held up a flower, and one of his monks smiled. That was Kashyapa. And that's it. And then Kashyapa went to China and started the chant tradition, which then became the Zen tradition. So that is the little story from Tsoknyi Rinpoche, how his father, I wish we all would have a father like that. who would give us when we were 6 or 7 years old something really, really, really useful. Not all the neurotic stuff we got from our father. As a first introduction, a first glimpse of that freedom. So this is like the journey from being reactive, contracted, identified with the content of your experience, full of self-importance, like really having lost the sense of space, the sense of love, the sense of connectedness. So then that journey, and there's many other practices to open that space, to shift. But they all lead to that recognition of the nature of your mind. So the last thing I want to say today about this is the way I've now talked about this, and also the way in this little story Tsukni Rinpoche talks about this. It sounded a bit as if that open awareness, that spacious, luminous, boundaryless, centerless interconnectedness in the nature of love, as if that is somehow separated or something different than the content, something different than this. So the image, the metaphor of the clouds and the sky, they evoke the same sense. There's the clouds, and they are not it, so we need to kind of go beyond or look behind or look through, and there it is. Yeah. So there might be a sense that we need to kind of remove this because freedom is behind, or we need to look through, we need to look behind thoughts, we need to look into the gaps between thoughts, we need to first transform anger, and then we can recognize this. But this is only a provisional step. What we then start to lean into is that the content of your experience and your Buddha nature is not separate from each other. They always come together. Awareness and content of awareness always come together. So the true truth, what is in Buddhism called the true truth, relative truth or deceptive truth and ultimate truth, are not two things, two different things. They are one thing. So if you look for the nature of mind, where do you find your nature of mind? Just there, just there in your anxiety, just there in your anger. by looking straightforwardly into it. In the beginning, we think, first I need to get rid of the anger, and then I can look into the nature of mind. But your anger is in the nature of mind. Everything you experience is in the nature of mind. Everything you experience is consciousness. So there, this image of the waves and the cloud, the waves and the ocean is more helpful. So you start to relax into, in your meditation practice, you start to relax into, this is a wave, and it's in the nature of consciousness, and it dissolves. And this is a wave, thoughts, sensations, sounds, pleasant or unpleasant, and it's in the nature of consciousness, and it dissolves back into consciousness. And while it is manifesting, contracting, fear, it remains in the nature of consciousness. It remains in the nature of awareness. It does not change in nature. It kind of changes the density or the frequency, but it's the same stuff. And it dissolves into the same stuff. So slowly, slowly you start to relax into life as it is. And Lama Tup Nyeshe, you have this translation into Finnish. So this is a book on the fruitional view, on the resultant view. And he, in the beginning, he says, heaven is now. That's what the fruitional view says, the resultant view. So we can relax. We can really relax. We can't get closer to this. It's already, this is it. And then, of course, we mess it up because we think that this is not it. So then we create resistance, and then suffering starts. So it makes sense, and that's more what we are going to explore tomorrow. It makes sense initially kind of to separate the two. The relative level of mind and the pure awareness or non-dual awareness, kind of for a while pretending that are two different things, so that we get a sense of the spacious, luminous knowingness in which all things happen, the gap between thoughts, the silence behind the noise, the peace surrounding every moment, the presence which pervades all experiences. So it makes sense to familiarize yourself with this, taking it a bit as two things, but then bringing it together. Okay, questions are hopeless, so Thank you very much. it can't be clarified. And I hope you didn't learn anything today. Then we did well. If you leave with a kind of, what was that? I didn't get this. Then I'm relieved. Yeah. I didn't understand this. So that's good. So it's good to leave a bit like, what was this? So then that's a bit more realistic than a sense of, oh yeah, that was clear. Yeah, I know this. And then tomorrow we will go a bit more into the different pointers to the luminous, centerless, boundaryless nature of awareness. Okay, tomorrow at 10.
Thank you.
You're welcome.